Okay. Hopefully microphone works. I'm gonna wait and see when more people pop in. And whoever's here, let me know how I sound on the mic. I don't know what the problem is, but mic started acting weird. So just let me know if like I sound good or if I sound like caca poo poo. Like I sound like Lady Jessica, but like Bizarro Lady Jessica from like Dune. God, that's terrifying. Attractive, but also terrifying. Let me see. Like the output is fine, but am I too low? Or is it like I sound pretty good? Alright, I sound pretty good. Alright, sweet. Okay, cool. Well, that assuades some of my fears. Alright, there we go. Mid sound. My sound can't be mid. Alright, I'm gonna change it. You might want to adjust your audio real quick though. Like turn it down just a smidge. Just a smidge. Okay. How do I sound now? This sound better? This sound good? Great? Okay, sweet. Alright. What's up, John Ty? And thank you, 1610. That was like super helpful. Yo, what is going on, guys? How we living? How we doing? What did we read this week? I mean, there wasn't really a lot that came out this week that, like, I mean, at the very least, there wasn't a lot that came out that I was particularly interested in. So I kind of just read old stuff. World's Finest came out, like the big 25th anniversary issue that came out. I thought that was pretty fun. It was a really cute Lex Luthor and Superman. That's Lex Luthor and Joker team up issue. I thought that was pretty fun. Comic book fans, OMG, this alternate reality adaptation is nothing like the source material. Oh, I mean, like, oh yeah, but like, I mean, there's layers to it. Comic book fans get like really pissy about adaptations because comics themselves are very niche. So it's nice to have a thing you like adapted properly, so that people don't wind up thinking that Moon Knight is Spawn or Sailor Moon, or that Spider-Man's an Avengers fanboy, or that Cassandra Cain is the Harley Quinn's spunky secretary. That's why we like to have things adapted. Not one for one, but at the very least, just, kind of just, slightly, kinda, properly. Still getting caught up with last week's comics. Dude, me too. I still haven't read a lot of my comics from last week. I'm just, like, super fucking swamped with work. But I did reread Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko, just because everyone on Twitter was, or I guess X, was freaking out about it, and they were like, this is bad and wrong, and it's like, it's a character-focused issue, and it's like actually really kind of cool. I don't know. It reminded me a lot of horror anime, and I dug it. I'm not sure how it's gonna like fit into the overall thing that Jonathan Hickman's sort of doing with mutants. I haven't reread Ultimate Invasion, so there could have been something in there that I missed, but I think the Rasputins sort of like have their own sort of like mutantopia in Russia, which would be very interesting considering that Peach Momoko's like sort of starting the X-Men line in Japan, given like sort of the history behind like Japan and Russia from like the early 1900s onward. I think that'd be pretty fascinating. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Also, just to add another feather to the cap of my last video, the Rasputins owning Russia, EarthX. It's literally in EarthX. Again, I just think it's funny that like so much of like contemporary Marvel comes from EarthX and just no one fucking talks about it. What's up, Supreme? How you doing? Motion comics are the best adaptations. I mean, I know that there are some motion comics that people really like, but I've never been a motion comic person. I think some of the voice acting for some motion comics have been really good. I remember the motion comic for Iron Man Extremis. I thought the voice actor for Tony Stark was really good. What else had a decent motion comic? The Spider-Woman Origin by Bendis, and I can't remember the artist, but that was a pretty decent motion comic for being a motion comic. I thought the voice work was really good. Whoever they got to play Nick Fury was just fucking bang on Nick Fury. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big motion comic guy. I wasn't a big motion comic guy as a kid. I didn't like motion comics. I'm not a motion comic fan. Thoughts on the new X-Men titles? It is really cool that they're getting Gail Simone to do like a main X-Men book. I'm not sure if that's happened before. I know that she did Domino and she did some Deadpool before, but like I'm not sure if Gail Simone's actually done like an X-Men title. Which would be really weird if she hasn't, because she's done a lot of like the satellite X-Men stuff, so yeah, go for it. So that's pretty cool. I want to be more excited. I can't help being a petty bitch about just the whole Jonathan Hickman thing, which I know he's long since just like, wrapped up that wound and put it back in his pants and moved on to the next thing, but like, we were literally getting Jonathan Hickman doing Dune with the X-Men after what was it, like 10 years of just like weird random bullshit nothingness. I thought it was a really cool direction. I thought he was doing something really interesting. And then Marvel sort of like marveled all over it by going like, okay, so you have this like really focused, concise idea. What if we expand that to like 30 titles? And then we're going to just like do event after event after event. And then we're going to kick you off the book. It's like we're gonna kick you out of the X-Men office. We're going to take this like really cool, like, I'm trying to resist saying hyper autistic because that's like insensitive, but like, come on. There's some level of autism when you're like a hyper detailed science fiction author. We're gonna take this like hyper autistic idea that is like kind of brilliant and really cool, and we're not gonna know what to do with it, and we're just gonna flail around like an infant who just ingested lead in a pool where no one's watching them, and then we're just gonna drown, and then we're just gonna let the whole thing die. And then we're gonna go back to. We're gonna go back to. Do you remember the X-Men when they had vibrant colors and they looked like they did in the '90s cartoon? Do you remember the? That's just kind of how it feels like to me. I feel like we've been here before. I feel like we did this after Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly left the X-Men title in the early 2000s. I feel like we did the exact same thing after JMS left, like, Spider-Man. I feel like we do this a lot with Marvel. It's just kind of frustrating. And I don't know. I just, I wish the creative teams the best. I know Gail Simone's going to write a really fun X-Men book because Gail Simone's a really fun writer. I know Jed McKay, his Moon Knight's really good. I haven't been keeping up with it the past, couple of issues just because there's a lot of other really good comics out there, and I couldn't keep reading Moon Knight. But the first, 4 trades I read were really good. So Jed McKay is probably going to kill it on the X-Men book that he has. E-Viewing. So yeah, no, creative teams all around. Again, best of luck, but I'm still just sort of, I don't know. Damn. Just, what a shame. What we had, and then we lost it, and now what we have. But I'll give the first couple of issues a shot for all of them. That's the best I can do, but it does feel like kind of a shame. I don't know. I feel like you could have done something really cool with the Krakoa era. It's just that not a lot of cool stuff was done with it. Mainly because you kicked the brain trust out of the room. Big brain moves. But let's see. Yeah, you're right about adaptations. First adaptation should be close to the source material. And I don't know. I don't want comic book movies to be slavish. I don't want comic book TV shows to be slavish. I get why manga does it, and that's actually part of a big reason why anime and manga is just quite frankly bigger than American superhero comics. 90% of the time, anime adaptations are literally just 1-for-1, beat-for-beat adaptations of the manga. And then once the manga goes on that 6 to 7 month hiatus, people are very curious. They're I gotta know what happens next. So they pick up the manga, and that's where manga sales boost because people they really liked watching the anime. They want to know what happens next. They follow along the story with the manga that is supposedly going to be the blueprint for what the next season's going to be based on. That's the big appeal of manga and anime. And on the one hand, I do see how you could do that with American comics. And I think that would definitely work if you just took a comic book run and you just adapted it like manga. Say for example, you just take the Stan Lee era Spider-Man comics that not Stan Lee, the Steve Ditko era Spider-Man comics, into some of the John Romita era stuff. You just do Amazing Fantasy up through the end of the Master Planner arc. That is what, 35 issues worth of content? In theory, those are 35 episodes that you could just pump out. It'd be so easy. I mean, you have to update some stuff here and there because, 1967 versus 2025 or 2024. We're not in the future yet, but I don't know. You could definitely do that. The DC animated films did that for a long time until they fucking tried to be MCU light. um, but yeah, that's on the one hand that'd be really cool, but on the other hand, I don't really want to see like a one-for-one adaptation of comics I've already read. I kind of like to see someone take the spirit of the concept and do something sort of original. That's why, for example, I love the James Cameron Spider-Man script Mint. Whatever the fuck a script Mint is. Again, that's just some weird shit that James Cameron made up because he's James Cameron. But that's why I like that script treatment so much. It's literally James Cameron taking Spider-Man. But it's like he's not doing it like a one-for-one adaptation of the character. He's taking like the spirit of Spider-Man and he's telling this like post-AIDS crack epidemic era crime story about a kid who's just sort of like growing up in that environment, and like he's growing up with like all these sort of like hang-ups, and he has to go through the trials of, you know, adolescence. It's Spider-Man, and it's very like stylistically it's like a very classic take on Spider-Man. It's a very like Steve Ditko take on Spider-Man, but through the lens of James Cameron. You know, that stuff like that is what I like. It's also why I really like the I like the first two X-Men movies. They really do take the concept of the X-Men and they sort of just they tweak it to where it's the X-Men through the eyes of Bryan Singer. But it is still distinctly the X-Men. In fact, I'd argue it's like the best parts of the X-Men. It's X-Men with all the superhero stuff like sort of stripped out of it, which is what I like. I don't like the X-Men as superheroes. I don't like the X-Men as superheroes. Just quite frankly, they don't work as superheroes in the traditional superhero sense. Like they're not like Spider-Man, they're not like Superman. They are a straight up paramilitary mutant response team, and that's exactly what those movies were sort of doing with the concept and the characters. But I don't know, whatever. I just want adaptations to like stick to the heart of a lot of these things. You don't have to be like one for one, but just like feel like the thing, you know? That's all I'm saying. Johnny Dickman is boring with snail's pace of movement. I don't know who that is. Johnny Dickman. Is that gonna be a porn thing? Am I gonna look this up and it's gonna be porn? Johnny Dickman Marvel? Johnny Dickman was an Englishman hanged for murder. Well, I'm not sure if that's the same guy we're talking about, but you know, I suppose he's moving at snail's pace nowadays. R.I.P. John Ty says the backlash to the new Ultimate X-Men is really dumb. I agree. Ultimate X-Men is a different take on the X-Men, so it's not going to be the same as the 616 X-Men. Yeah, well, it's not even like that's the shit that gets me. It's not even in a world that like remotely resembles 616 anymore. Peter Parker got his powers at like age 35 instead of age 15. Like this is a world where Doctor Doom, well, I mean, it's Reed Richards with a Doctor Doom mask, is going to be leading the Avengers, or I guess the Ultimates, but, you know, still. Like, this is just not a... this is not a familiar Marvel Universe, so freaking out about like the X-Men are different. Yeah, it's gotta be different, bro. I don't know. Supreme says, finished reading the original pre-Z era Dragon Ball. It's great. Oh wow, okay. Well, the Z era is the most popular part, especially in the U.S. I feel like Dragon Ball is more cohesive and narratively satisfying. Well, you're getting me. You're getting me sold on it, so I guess I'll check it out. Whedon's X-Men run motion comic is great. Huh. I didn't know there was a... Actually, no, I forgot there was a Joss Whedon... I forgot there was a Joss Whedon X-Men motion comic. 1610 Man. Oh, actually, give me 1 second. Yo, there we go. But yeah, no, I totally forgot there was the Joss Whedon X-Men motion comic. I watched that as a kid. I don't remember like what age specifically, but I definitely did read that, or not read it. I definitely watched that as a kid. John Cassidy's artwork does lend itself really well to motion. New Ultimate Universe, different from the old version. I see 616 fans keep complaining that it's not a remake of 616. Well, that's the weird part. It is a remake of 616. It's literally just the 616, but fucking the maker just puts his dick in key parts, so it's like not the 616. It's like a classic what if situation, you know, like it's that branching timeline thing of this is a version of the 616 universe that just veers off course because evil Reed Richards was like, I'm gonna make a universe where I'm the king. So I don't know. I'm fascinated by all the differences. And again, the 6160 universe, there were already some pretty fundamental changes. Like Tony Stark is, well, much rather, Howard Stark is Iron Man, and Tony Stark is sort of just hanging around as a kid. Also, Tony Stark is confirmed to, well, maybe not confirmed, but it's highly likely that he's going to become Kang in the future. So I don't know. These are just like fundamental differences between the 616 and the 6160 Marvel Universe, but I don't know. I again, it always loops back around to I guess people didn't read Ultimate Invasion, so whatever. Not reading Fist of the North Star. I read the first like 3 trades of that. I liked it a lot. No, it's really good, and it still holds up. It's like one of the best action manga I've ever read. Grant Morrison's Nick Fury is just James Bond on acid in a 60s period piece. Did Grant Morrison ever write Nick Fury? I'm trying to think if he did. I mean, honestly, I would fucking love to read a Grant Morrison Nick Fury book. That'd just be the coolest shit ever. I mean, it would literally just be James Bond, but crazier. 2000s leather redesigns. Oh, for the X-Men, absolutely, 100%. I agree. I'm in a minority there, but I really wish the X-Men would just ditch those superhero costumes and just wear like Black Ops uniforms. I think it works. I think it really works for them. I don't know. Um, I'm in the minority. I don't think the X-Men are superheroes, but that's just me. Um, Gentai says, remembering Grant Morrison's new X-Men run when Beast came out as gay. No one did anything with this idea after New X-Men. Well, he didn't. Okay, Beast Beast came out as gay to Scott, but Scott saw through him and was like, "No, you're not actually gay. You're upset that your girlfriend left you because tabloids were saying that your relationship was bestiality. Uh, you're just having bad luck with women. That doesn't make you gay." um, that's really what that was. Um, what is up, Tevia? How you doing, man? Great news. X-Men 97 is fantastic. Oh, that's pretty good. You got to check it out. I didn't watch the original X-Men cartoon. I just wasn't really into it. But yeah, definitely that's like on my to watch list. Uh all right, there we go. Sorry about that. I had like something on my face. Um, crap. Uh, where was I? There we go. Um, you're right. That's an interesting pitch. What if comics were adapted like manga and anime? Honestly, that I'd be really down with that. Um, conceptually, um, it's one of those things where I like the creative freedom that you get with a lot of comic book adaptations, but just looking at like the logic of adaptations and how well manga does and anime does, um, yeah, no, it just makes sense. Honestly, it just from a logistical standpoint, just take this stretch of material, adapt it straight, leave people sort of wanting for more, and then they'll just read the more. They'll just continue on until you properly adapt, whatever comes next. It just makes sense. Um, it's the logistically it's the smart way to do things, but you know, I also do like the idea that you can sort of take these concepts and sort of like do your own thing with them, which does mean that there's always going to be there are going to be people who are into what you're doing, and there's going to be people who aren't into what you're doing. You are going to get situations like MCU Spider-Man. A lot of people like those. I'm not one of them. But that is God, what was that guy's name? Spider-Man director, John Watts. That was John Watts' vision for Spider-Man. I can't take that away from him. So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. But again, from like a completely logical perspective, yeah, it just makes sense to just adapt comics straight. I don't know. James Cameron's X-Men and Spider-Man scripts, shared universe. Did James Cameron ever make an X-Men script? I know he was in talks with Marvel to make an X-Men movie, but then like he got pulled to the side by Stan Lee, and they had a conversation about Spider-Man, and then it just all that X-Men shit just fell apart. Because he was like, oh, I actually want to make a movie about Spider-Man. That's who I care about. Bryan Singer's X-Men science fiction drama. I mean, yeah, that's basically what it is, and that's why I like it a lot. Supreme says, with your view, I feel like there are two camps of X-Men fans: those who like cosmic mystical stuff like Dark Phoenix Saga, and those who prefer the grounded mutant metaphor stuff like God Loves, Man Kills. Yeah, and I would consider myself to be in the latter. Like, I mean, I don't know. I still feel weird calling myself an X-Men fan, because I'm not really a big X-Men guy. But most of that's because a lot of people who are working on X-Men comics and X-Men larger media stuff are fans who fall into that former category, who do really like the cosmic mystical stuff, and they sort of like focus on that and all the mutant oppression and all that sort of gritty sci-fi real world stuff sort of just falls by the wayside, and that's what I'm more interested in. But just I don't think a lot of other X-Men fans are, so I don't know. John Dickman, a parody of Jonathan Hickman. Oh, okay. So he's not an Englishman who murdered people. Cool. Earth 6160 Daredevil, evil priest behind the scenes. Man, how come even in a universe where evil Reed Richards changes everything, Matt Murdock still manages to go blind? I mean, there's no hint of him being a superhero or anything like that, so all evidence points to him just being blind. And we know that nigga's not born blind, so that just means he is just a poor cursed soul. Holy shit. Rest in pepperoni, my guy. Rest in pepperoni. Supreme Omega on the no killing rule. When writers try to make villains so sadistic and engaged in real life, I feel like it does make the hero's no killing rule look ineffectual thoughts. It's crazy you bring that up, because I was like just thinking about that earlier this morning. When Grant Morrison did that response to Zack Snyder's whole Joe Rogan Batman to kill people, I mean, I get what Grant Morrison's talking about. I agree. I do think that if Batman kills the Joker, that like that betrays the whole point of Batman. And there were a lot of other superheroes that sort of fall into that category, like why Superman doesn't kill Lex Luthor, why Spider-Man doesn't just outright kill Doc Ock or like all the other supervillains, or why superheroes just don't kill in general. I get it, but the problem is, the 80s happened, and that's when a lot of writers and editors started to be like really cool and really edgy to have like what if the Joker was like a serial killer, and like what if we had like all these supervillains, they're like domestic terrorists and mass rapists and shit like that. And the superheroes conceptually work in a world where like the villains are like glorified pranksters. There's a solid logic both internally and externally with superhero comics where like the Joker is just robbing banks dressed up like Charlie Chaplin and like comedians from the 30s, and he's just pulling heists and doing pranks. That's one thing. Batman shouldn't kill the Joker over that. But when you have like current era Joker, who's like the god of death, who shows up and is like, Batman, I just raped 30 toddlers to death while listening to Gangnam Style. Every thrust is to the beat of the song. Like, when you... I'm sorry, but when you start writing the Joker like that, it does become, like, morally inexcusable and just sort of wrong for Batman to not just... No. No. Like when you start having Lex Luthor, for example, like, oh, Superman, I blew up the children's hospital ward, the cancer ward, and you didn't save those children. I bet that makes you feel really naughty and feel really bad. Like, no, just chuck his ass in the sun. Problem done. Like, and this is a problem with like how supervillains are written more so than how heroes are written. When you start upping the stakes to the point where like supervillains are like sadomasochistic domestic terrorist monsters, that's when you can't just leave superheroes in that like Silver Age mentality. You do have to escalate them to like meet the threat on like a level playing field. So that's where you run into the problem of the no-kill rule with a lot of superheroes. It doesn't fall on the fault of like superheroes or how superheroes are written. It falls on the fault of how extreme supervillains are written. That's really the problem. But yeah, that's those are my thoughts on it personally. Like if you don't want to have people asking why Batman doesn't kill the Joker, stop fucking writing the Joker like he's goddamn like he's Freddy Krueger or some shit like that. Just don't do that. Don't do that, and people won't ask those questions. I don't know. My problem with X-Men 97 are the pacing issues. I haven't watched it yet. I'll get there. Remember X-Men Evolution? I do. It's great. It's one of my favorite superhero cartoons of all time. And I genuinely love the ending. I feel like the way that show ends, you don't need any more of it. It's just done. It has a conclusion. I know there was a season 6 that was proposed, but you don't need it. You really don't need it. Um, that's just so good. It took like everything that was really good about Ultimate X-Men, as well as everything that was really good about the not X-Men Season 1. What was it called? I think it was called X-Men First Class. Those like throwback comics to the Stan Lee Jack Kirby era, but it wasn't Stan Lee Jack Kirby era. They're doing its own thing. Kind of like the Spider-Man Marvel Adventures books were doing that. It's, I don't know, weird, but still cool. Still, I like how they mixed those two flavors together and made, in my opinion, the best X-Men cartoon. Because that 90s cartoon was hard to I'm going to try to rewatch it because of this new X-Men 97 show, but I remember every time I've tried to go back and rewatch the 90s X-Men cartoon, it's rough. It is hard. It's hard to watch. It's not great. X-Men Evolution reminds me of Ultimate X-Men. Yeah, it does. It's definitely riffing off of that aesthetic. Have you seen the Kurt Busiek fan letter about X-Men? Yes, I did. And I completely stand by, like, how old would he have been? Like 13 or 14? I stand by 14-year-old Kurt Busiek. That 14-year-old boy had the right idea. No, I don't know. I don't like X-Men going to space and doing Star Trek shit. They should be on Earth dealing with, like, civil rights type stuff with, like, human rights violations and, well, maybe not human rights violations. They're mutants. They're not people. They're God's mistake. But no, like, they should be on Earth dealing with mutant-related problems, political problems, mercenaries trying to kill mutants, like, that sort of thing. That's why God Loves Man Kills appeals to me so much. Like, it's fuck, what's that televangelist name? Like, the one who looks like the devil. I mean, that's most of them, but, like, oh Christ, the one who's not Joel Osteen, who's like, Tyler Perry gave me $1 million jet plane and I couldn't say no. Shit, but he looks like when, like, having that guy be the villain of an X-Men book is really cool, and, like, having him, like, sort of shadow run this mutant Ku Klux Klan organization where they just hunt down mutant children and slay them. That's really cool. That's what I think the X-Men story should be focusing on, instead of the Phoenix is actually going to be a celestial egg and we have to go through time to I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't like that. I don't care. Get that shit out of here. I want to see the racial allegory stuff. I don't want to see. If I want to read the Avengers, I'll read the Avengers. Don't turn X-Men into the Avengers. That's just where I'm coming from. But Scream says, while I hate John Byrne's work on Spidey, I feel like he had a point where the problem with Norman's resurrection is that he killed Peter and MJ's unborn baby. What is stopping Peter from snapping Norman's neck? Exactly. That's one of the other big problems of bringing Norman back from the dead. And also, I mean, I haven't read Clone Saga in a while, but isn't it also sort of revealed that Norman is like the Blofeld to Spider-Man comics? Like, every horrible thing that's happened in Peter's life is like the direct result of Norman Osborn just fucking with Peter from behind the scenes. Look, Peter's a stand-up guy, Spider-Man's a very resilient hero, but he's also, like, just a dude, and I feel like just a dude would just fucking murder the Green Goblin after that. Like, yeah, no, I mean, again, John Byrne is kind of right. You just making me say those words. But no, he's right. What's stopping Peter from killing Norman at that point? He killed the man's child. That's some fucking Shakespearean shit. Like, That's only reconciled with, like, death. That's how you fix that. Death. Batman gritty reboot, a detective versus psychopaths. I mean, yeah, that's just the Batman, like the Matt Reeves Batman. 16 Cents says, modern age of comics, everything's a gritty reboot, dawn of deconstruction. Yeah. Don't praise Busiek too much when it comes to the X-Men. You can blame him for Jean Grey's resurrection because he hated Jean Grey's death. Oh, well. Shit. Well, then, fucking Busiek also broke Jean Grey. And a large portion of X-Men comics in that regard, too. 1610 says, the best thing about 90s X-Men show, the toys. Until the Japanese imported toys existed. Really? Were they that good? I grew up with the Marvel Legends toys. Those were really good. I think I had like a Spider-Man. It was like a Ditko Spider-Man. It was I had Ghost Rider, but I didn't have the the Hell Cycle, which kind of bummed me out as a kid. I also tried to make one out of cardboard. Didn't work out that well. But I also had the Marvel Legends Daredevil. It was like a very distinctly, it's like a John Romita Sr. style Daredevil. And those all came with like comics. Like those are the Marvel toys that I played with as a kid. I didn't really get like the cartoon toys. And the ones that I did get, I just didn't really play with that much. I always found them sort of gimmicky. I didn't really like the gimmicky toys. I was a very vanilla child. And I'm a very vanilla adult too. Take that how you will, but yeah, no, I didn't like the action figures that were like Batman plus night vision thrashing action with wings. I thought that shit was lame as hell. And if people got that for me as a kid for like my birthday, I would politely like smile and go like thank you, but I wouldn't play with that shit. I didn't like it. No, if you're gonna give me a Batman toy, give me a Batman toy that looks like fucking Batman. Give me a Spider-Man toy that looks like fucking Spider-Man. A Superman toy. Well, I didn't really like Superman as a kid either, but like, you know, give me a Superman toy that looks like Superman for God's sake. I don't know. I didn't like the weird like gimmicky stuff. I thought that was crap. But I always found it weird that Gordon and the cops don't just kill most of the rogues gallery. Gordon always says bring them in by the book, but I feel like Gordon should be fine with killing them. Should be more. Yeah, he should. In fact, it's. I mean, if we're going off like the modern interpretation of like superhero comics and all that, instead of asking the question why doesn't Batman kill the Joker, someone should ask the question, why doesn't someone exercise their Second Amendment right and just blow his fucking brains out? Why doesn't a concerned citizen just walk up to the Joker and go like, hey, you're the Joker? Cool. Bow. Problem solved. Boom. Big brain. Ugh. I just... Joel Osteen, or T.D. Jakes. No, not T.D. Jakes. Was T.D. Jakes around during God Loves Man Kills? I know he's old, but I don't think he's that old. Joel Osteen is that old, though, apparently. I didn't think he was, but, like, apparently that man is just living off of Botox injections. What did you read today, be it old or new? Today I read Wonder Woman issue number 7, and I read the World's Finest issue 25 by Mark Waid, and I think Dan Mora did the artwork. I'm not sure. The artwork didn't really look like Dan Mora for the first half of that book. The second half was definitely Dan Mora, but the first half I think that was a guest artist. It's pretty fun. It's a filler issue. you know, setting up the next big arc with World's Finest. But I really did like the Wonder Woman issue number 7. I thought that was really well written, really well drawn. That's just Superman and Wonder Woman going to this intergalactic mall, and they're trying to find the perfect gift for Batman. You know, I thought that was really cute. Tom King does a really good job writing the Trinity, like a really good job. Yeah, I don't know why no one at DC like just gives him a Trinity book. I mean, I know there's been a lot of reactions to his Wonder Woman comic. I'll say I do have some problems with his Wonder Woman run, mainly just because I feel like it's a guy thing. You know, there are things in the book that I think Tom King writes because he's a guy and he's like, wouldn't it be cool if the invisible jet had guns on it? No, Tom. It's. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool visual, but that Wonder Woman's whole thing is she's a pacifist. I don't. That's not. Don't. Just stuff like that. And there are some other things that I took issue with. The one that got me was also Diana hitting her mother, like just straight up punching the Queen of the Amazons in the face in front of an arena of other Amazons. I thought that was, I didn't like that. Again, it's very dramatic from a masculine Oedipal point of view, but that's not. I just didn't. I feel like they were just. He's definitely writing Wonder Woman through like a masculine lens, which I think sort of misses the point of Wonder Woman a little bit. But when he does issues like this, I think it works out really well. Where you have like Superman hanging out with Wonder Woman and they're going to the mall. It's pretty cute. And it's why I think Tom King is like the perfect guy to get a Trinity book. But yeah, his Wonder Woman, I am not I am not vibing with his Wonder Woman. As someone who vibes with a lot of Tom King books, I'm not feeling his Wonder Woman. But issue 7 was really good. And that was like one of the 2 books I read this week. I really wanted to get my hands on the Ape special, the Ape Brill special with the monkey prints. I thought that looked pretty fun, but both the comic book stores I visited were just completely out of it. So fucking just gonna have to find it somewhere else. But yeah, those are like the only new comics I read this week. Everything else I'm like reading and rereading is just old stuff. Like I reread Earth X, but I reread that for like the video that I just posted. And I reread parts of Justice because it's another Jim Krueger superhero book that is like arguably one of the greatest superhero comics of all time that just no one remembers, and it's unfortunate. Like Jim Krueger's probably just cursed or something. You will write the greatest superhero comics of all time. No one will remember them. Just absolutely painful. 1610 says, I never liked aliens and magic and gods in the superhero genre. I prefer science and technology. Okay, that's fair. I like aliens and magic and superhero stuff, but I think it should be like a case by case sort of basis. Like it's great in like Thor or Superman, but for Batman stories I prefer like more detective-y stuff. Even when you get like sort of goofy with some of the detective-y stuff, I still like when it's like detective-y. Um, but yeah, no, for me it's a case by case basis. John Ty says Norman always fucking over Peter's life. Feels like Reverse Flash with Barry. Oh man. Actually, you bringing that up again? That's another case where the writers they made Reverse Flash more menacing by making him more lethal, and then Barry's response was to throw him in a black hole. And when he left the black hole, Barry fucking killed him. That's simple. That's simple. Like, oh, you killed my wife? Oh, I'm just gonna take your life. How about that? That's how we reconcile this shit. Simple logic, I think. Marvel Legends, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four lines were badass. Yeah, no, those were really good. I had those as a kid. I had the Thing, but he had like the trench coat with the hat and the sunglasses. I think my dad ended up getting a hold of that figure, and then like after he died, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know. It's probably at like my uncle's house or some shit like that, but I'm not. I'm not gonna freak out over it. Nah, like I haven't seen that thing in like over 10 years, whatever. DC Classics toy line was epic as a kid. I'm trying to remember. I remember as a kid thinking the DC figures, like design wise, they were really cool, but they weren't all that posable. Honestly, up until McFarlane came around, like very recently, I don't think DC figures were all that great. I think McFarlane really made DC figures like really solid, and it's kind of frustrating that people are taking it for granted. Like, oh, Todd McFarlane's making Superman figures, they all look ugly. It's like, nigga, Todd McFarlane's making Superman figures actually appealing. They pose. You can actually pose Superman and do cool poses with Superman. But you sit the fuck down and shut up and just enjoy that we have like actual cool Superman figures now. I don't know. Whatever. I just think that the post Todd McFarlane DC figures are like really cool. Like he really did a great job making DC figures like buyable. Red Hood would be more of a cool character if he actually killed the Joker, but DC would never approve that. That honestly should have been the first thing Red Hood did. Like, okay, you lose the Joker, but you also have other villains you can do cool stuff with. It's not like we're gonna miss the Joker and that we haven't overexposed this fucking character. Also, like, I don't know, what a way to go out. Like, you introduce Jason Todd as the zombie Robin who came back to life, and the first thing he does is he kills the Joker. That is the best way to kill that character off, and the fact that DC just didn't take that chance and didn't do it, you had an opportunity and then you missed it. That's it. That's all I can say. Missed opportunity right there. Kurt Busiek also ruined Kang with his Avengers run. More time travel BS. I mean, that's not. I don't know. That's like Kang's whole thing, though. Like I don't know if I agree with you on that one. Granted, I haven't read all of Kurt Busiek's run just because Marvel hasn't done like a decent collection of Kurt Busiek's run on the Avengers recently. Outside of the omnibus, which I'm just not gonna get. I'm not getting a fucking omnibus. You couldn't pay me to get another omnibus. But of what I've read of Kurt Busiek's run, like Ultron Unlimited and It's like some of the other stories in there. I have them on my wall actually back here. Actually, I only have like one over there. I have Ultron Unlimited and I have Avengers Forever. I had some of the stuff that like happens in between there, but I gave it away because I was like, these trades are old and sort of crusty. But I like Kurt Busiek's run in the Avengers. You know, it's like one of the few Avengers runs that I actually think is worth reading. Tom King writes the Trinity well because of editorial oversight. Oh. Yeah, probably. Plastic Man gritty reboot. If the Thing was a superhero horror movie. That actually sounds really cool though. Like I would watch that. I would legitimately watch that. I don't know. You can't tease me, bro. You can't whip it out and dangle it in front of me and not let me play with it, bro. It's bad. It's bad manners. Honestly, it's bad manners. You can't do that to me. Plastic Man gritty reboot is just that one panel in Dark Knight Strikes Again. The idea that he could kill us all. Scream says, I feel both Morrison's Batman and J. Michael Straczynski's Spider-Man are good runs that created problems. I have soured on the concept of spider totems and Barbados. Yeah, but that goes back to that whole like Frank Miller problem where people say that Frank Miller and Alan Moore broke superhero comics by making them gritty. It's not. Look, Watchmen is really good. You cannot blame Alan Moore for a bunch of like shitbag hacks trying to copy Watchmen for like 30 years. You can't blame Alan Moore for that. That's a skill issue. That's not on Alan Moore. Alan Moore did everything right. I can't blame Alan Moore for that. Just like I can't blame Frank Miller for writing like a really, really solid political satire that just no one unfortunately realized was satire. I'm slowly realizing in Dark Knight Returns. And then just so again for like the next 30 years every writer's just trying to make Dark Knight Returns. But I can't blame Frank Miller for that. It's not Frank Miller's fault. Just like it's not Grant Morrison's fault for introducing all the really weird James Bondian, like, fever dream DMT bullshit in Batman. And then every run after him just trying and failing to do exactly what he did. It's not Grant's fault. And it's not J. Michael Straczynski's fault that no one knows how to write the totem bullshit but him. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. I can't blame them for that. It's everyone else's fault. They're fine. They are baby. They get a pass. Venom gritty reboot. He's a supervillain again. Why is the Zdarsky run on Batman so bad? Dude, I don't know. It's so weird. It like started off as like my favorite superhero comic on the shelves, and then it just fell apart. Supreme says, on the JLA, does it always have to feature the main 7 spotlighting B and C list superheroes? Is why people like the JLI and Justice League Unlimited. Well, I mean it. Yeah, they do. It's Camelot, man. Like it's like these are the Knights of the Round Table. If I read the Justice League, I want to read about the fucking Justice League. I don't care. Like, I really like Booster Gold. Not Booster Gold. I really like Ted Kord Blue Beetle. I guess I can take relief Booster Gold. But, like, you know, if I crack open a Justice League book, it's cool if Blue Beetle is there, but if we're going to focus a whole arc on Blue Beetle, the fuck you doing, nigga? This is the Justice League. I'm sorry. What are we doing? That's like the big reason why I don't really care for the Justice League International show. The Justice League International comic. It's just not the Justice League to me. The Justice League should be like, it should be Ben-Hur. You know, it should be Seven Samurai. It should be epic. Every arc, every story should be epic as fuck in the Justice League. You've royally fucked up if it's not. But that's where I think like the Avengers would work better for that sort of concept, because you are sort of dealing with a soap opera that leans into like the more B and C list heroes, where it's like the Days of Our Lives kind of drama. What's going on with the C list heroes? You know, that's what the Avengers are for, not the Justice League. The Justice League should be like just epic and cool all the time. That's just my opinion, though. Zdarsky Batman run got bad because he was giving into fanboy demands. I don't think that's a fanboy demand, though. I think Zdarsky genuinely wanted to do a multiverse story, which honestly, it's still really good. In the idea that like the Red Mask is trying to achieve this like Jokerhood, but he can't. All he can do is make Jokers across the multiverse. That's a genuinely cool idea. But like everything else after that's just kind of trash. So, I can't write Amazing Spider-Man stories because I don't know what the fuck to do, or what Spider-Mans want, but I know what Batman fans want. He did say that. And then we're getting what we're getting currently. Robin gritty reboot, kick ass but with sidekicks. Just Robin. Well, I feel like a Robin gritty reboot would be more like Hit Girl and Big Daddy, but it's just from the perspective of Hit Girl. Supreme Omega says on Bendis, he writes Ultimate Pete, or why he writes Ultimate Pete. I never liked how he writes 616 Peter in New Avengers. Interesting. I feel like Peter in New Avengers feels too much like a comedic clown. Kinda. But like he sort of gives like a flippant sense of humor to all the superheroes. And like has them joking at like really weird and inappropriate times a lot. It's sort of like a sitcom. And yeah, that's sort of what I was talking about in my Earth X video. That's sort of like the beginning of like the hyper quippy sort of Saturday morning cartoon era that Marvel Comics sort of drifted into. But I think he writes 616 Peter pretty well. I still think Peter's a badass when he shows up at the raft and all the supervillains are there, and he's just he is fighting off as many as he possibly can, but he's still getting his ass beat because it's literally just one guy versus everyone. Which I didn't put this together until like yesterday when I was on the toilet, but that moment in the first Spider-Man PS4 game by Insomniac, that's literally just the first like 3 issues of well, at the very least, that level when you're in the raft, that is just the opening of Bendis' New Avengers. Like, Electro breaks everyone out of the raft, and then it's just Spider-Man versus a bunch of supervillains. I didn't put that together until recently, but, you know, I thought that was really cool. But it just kind of sucks that I think Insomniac didn't have like the license to do like the other Avengers characters or the other Marvel characters just in general. So you can't see like Spider-Man fighting like Jigsaw or, you know, the ventriloquist or like all the other villains. I don't know. Whatever. It's a weird legal rights thing. I'm not gonna pretend to know shit about that, but still cool. Still would have been cool. Blue Beetle gritty reboot. Spider-Man with a tech company. Isn't that just Dan Slott era Spider-Man? Does it get tiring when the Justice League stories are always just epic within the context of a 50-issue run? No, but outside of Grant Morrison and Howard Porter, we haven't had that, so I can't speak to that. Booster Gold gritty reboot, rated R, Back to the Future. I'd watch it. Would you blame Bendis for how Marvel Comics and the MCU write jokes? A little bit, but it's not really a Bendis problem as much as it is like a Joss Whedon problem. Because Joss Whedon sort of broke fiction. Geek culture went mainstream during the mid-90s to early 2000s. Kinda. I feel like it went a little more mainstream from like the 2010s into like the early 2020s. Like that's like when the MCU was at an all-time high. But let's see. Supreme says, you don't mind the JSA and the Titans using B-list and C-list heroes. I wonder why. Because it's the JSA and the Teen Titans. They're not the Justice League. Fuck the JSA. No, I'm kidding. I like the JSA. But fuck the Titans. But no, the JSA is really cool. And for what it's worth, the JSA did have the heavy hitter characters at the time. Like you still have Flash. You still have Superman, or I guess Earth 2 Superman. You still have Earth 2 Wonder Woman. You still have all the characters that were important for the day. So I don't know. The only reason like the JSA has like B-list heroes is because no one used them after the Silver Age. So that's why they're B and C list, but like you can still do a lot of really cool stuff with them. I don't know. But fuck the Titans. Fuck the Teen Titans. I will refuse to elaborate. Hulk gritty reboot. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, also a Hulk gritty reboot, or I guess like a deboot. It's just the Ang Lee Hulk movie. That movie's fucking properly gritty. It's really good. It's a really good Hulk film too. Is it a good thing that geek stuff is mainstream? I mean, it's a give and take. It's pretty cool that I can just offhandedly make a joke about like Black Widow, or make a reference to Hawkeye, or like Gwen Stacy, and people know what I'm talking about. But on the other hand, it kind of sucks that like the version of these characters that are like super popular are like watered down and not as interesting as their comic book counterparts. But that's just the give and take of, well, now they're popular, but the popular version of them is like a lesser version of, the source material. That's just the give and take. I'm not mad at it. It is what it is. Comic book media with mid-90s to 2000s and 2010s, mainstream growth and peak of nerd culture. Are there ever a reason to gatekeep fandom and entertainment? Yeah, I would say so. Definitely when you get people sort of trying to take these communities and make them something that like they're not. I think that's like a good time to gatekeep. Take that how you will, but I definitely do see a lot of times in sort of like niche communities when these like intellectual properties or what have you get like really popular. It does attract people who normally wouldn't be a part of that community, and they sort of inject some of their own neuroses into it. Sometimes it's like people sort of like diluting the whole thing into being like goofy and silly for no reason. Sometimes it's people literally trying to make these things like Nazi and like super racist or like weirdly sexist or whatever, or just missing the point entirely. Like I'm not sure like how ironic it is, but you look at like the Dune fandom, and I'm like a relatively new Dune fan, so like I'm a newbie, you know, I'm fresh meat. But I'm seeing a lot of like classic Dune fans complain about like how newer Dune fans are coming in and going like, well, I think that Paul is awesome and that he is Lisan al-Gaib, and actually everything he did was good, and just completely missing the point of Dune. That's when you are allowed to gatekeep, I think. But you know, or like when you get people who are like, we should have Superman going to like illegal immigrants' houses and like throwing them into the sun. That's when I think it's allowed. You're allowed to gatekeep a little bit. You know, just a little bit, just a little bit. Or when people go like, Superman he's always been racist. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? I don't know. Gatekeeping sometimes is good. It is good. Sometimes. If like a new fan shows up and is like, hey, I like this thing, don't just kick them out. Like, I don't know. But don't let in like weirdos. When people are weird, when people are like making it weird, that's when you can kick them out. But geek culture going mainstream, buyers remorse for comic book fans. C'est la vie. Again, give or take. But yeah. I guess I can like drop off today then, right there. Yeah, I got nothing else. I didn't really read a lot this week outside of like those 2 books, or I guess technically 4 books. But I think next week's gonna be a pretty loaded week for comics. Let me see. Comics. What's coming out next week, actually? Where's the Ultimates 2 video at? Do we have to pay for it? I mean, if you want to pay me, you can do it. I'm still just not. I'm not comfortable with the script at where it's at. I'm trying, but it's in the pipeline. It's coming, but I don't know. That's all I can say. Spider-Verse, Cable, Daredevil. I'm gonna read that in trade. Age of Spider-Verse, God no. Gods. I'm gonna read that in trade. Ghost Rider, Volume 4. I'm not reading Ghost Rider right now. Mortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen. Jackpot, Jesus Christ. No, I'm good. Spider-Girl Epic Collection, because they don't want to finish doing the complete collections. That's cool. Incredible Hulk. That book's been really good. If you guys haven't read it yet, that's amazing. Oh, Ultimate Invasion's coming out in trade. Okay, sweet. And we're also getting Ultimate Spider-Man number 3 next week. Okay. Okay. All right. That's pretty good. I'm glad I get paid this week. Let's see. No Thor. Okay, yeah, because that came out like 2 weeks ago. Oh, there's gonna be an X-Men 97. Okay, there's gonna be an X-Men 97 tie-in comic. That's pretty cool. Astro City book 5. Holy fuck! I don't even have book 4 yet. I don't think I've even read book 3 yet either. I've like just read the first 2, but all right, I'll try to add that to the list. Descender Compendium. Oh, I could probably check that out. I don't think I have any of the Descender books outside of like volume 1. Let's see. Philadelphia with the Savage Dragon cover. Weird. King Spawn. I don't know who reads Spawn, but King Spawn's coming out. Void Rivals. The Absolute Edition of Lex Luthor and Joker. It looks pretty cool if I didn't already have those. World's Finest, Amazon's Attack, Batman Dark Age. Is this like... It's by Mark Russell. Is this like take place in the same universe as Superman Space Age? Interesting. Yeah, Mike Allred and Mark Russell were like not kind to Batman in Superman Space Age. So it's gonna be like sort of interesting seeing Batman in that like sort of universe. See, Batman Dark Age number 1. Oh, right, just the variant cover. I got tricked. Birds of Prey Progeny. That looks old. That looks like old shit. No, that is old shit. That's the Gail Simone run. Okay. Oh, they're putting that back out. That's pretty cool. Detective Comics. Green Arrow number 10. Oh, that's a really cool Jorge Fornes variant cover. Harley Quinn, don't care. JL Ape, I do care. That looks pretty cool. I'm glad they're putting that back in print. Primer is getting a comic. Interesting. Flash number 7. I'm excited for that. Red Sonja, Vampirella, Berserker Bloodlines. Okay. I didn't know that was in trade already. That was fast. The Expanse, the show that everyone says I should watch but won't. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool comics coming out. I pity the fool who believes when the internet says that comics are bad right now, because they're wrong. Shit. There's actually a lot of cool stuff coming out. Oh my god, I have to stop spending money. Oh, there's so many good comics. Oh fuck. Alright, well, whatever. Well, I'm gonna read some cool comics. And take your time. Soft reboot. Thank you, dude. I might have to rewrite this whole video. It's frustrating. New issue of Ram V's Detectives coming out next week. Cool. I feel like a fool. Instead of following the Ram V book, I was following the Chip Zdarsky book, and I should have done the opposite. I like the tone of what Chip Zdarsky was going for, because I miss sort of like crazy, zany, like DMT Batman, but we've just gone too far into whatever. I don't know. It's just not good. But everyone says that Detective Comics is really good, so I'm gonna have to read that from the beginning. Epic Collections collect everything. In theory they should, but they Marvel has this weird habit of starting complete collections and then just choosing not to finish them, and then they restart that collection with an Epic Collection. It's very frustrating. I don't know why they do that. I wish they would stop doing that. I wish they would just collect the fucking... They just finish the collection you're already working on. That'd be nice, but whatever. It is what it is. That's why piracy exists, I guess. Yeah, I'm excited for Cysperia's issue number 7 of Flash. Savage Dragon, the dragon without the balls. That dragon has balls, alright. I've read more than enough Savage Dragon to know that he has balls. And they splooge. Batman in Space Age. Batman takes a bullet for the kids and literally dies. Yes, though, it's dude. That's a book I should probably review at some point. Flash Giddy reboot, crime drama. I mean, yeah, but you like literally could have done that with like a Flash TV show. I mean, they did do that with a Flash TV show. That's like the 90s show. It's just a crime drama. It's great. DC has that problem with Golden Age comics where they keep on restarting those collections. True, but they at least finished them with the Batman and Superman collections. I don't know if they did with the Wonder Woman collections, but I know they did like the first... like they did like 5 volumes of Superman in the Golden Age and Batman Golden Age, and there's like a lot of the Silver Age like Supergirl that they collected, and like the Silver Age Flash that they collected too. DC's actually getting pretty good at that. Marvel and DC clumsy collected editions. Why was this is why piracy exists. Green Arrow gritty reboot, also a crime drama. Well, on that note, thanks for giving me pain, 1610. I always can count on you for hurting me. So thank you guys for showing up. I will see you guys later, and yeah, take care. Read some comics. Enjoy. All right, hasta luego. Peace.